And here with me to talk about the Buffalo Bills is longtime Bills fan Scott Martino. Scott, thank you for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, yeah, no problem. I always try to look at fans of different teams. I try to change it up each year. I know that I had a Bills fan last year and a different Bills fan a couple of years ago, and it's really interesting to see really the progress the Bills have been making over the years, especially in the division that used to be ruled by the Patriots a lot. And it's definitely good to hear a little bit of good talk about the Bills.
Yep.
Starting off, how did you become a Bills fan, and what was the attraction to them?
Oh, wow. Well, when I first started watching football in like early 90s, we lived upstate Pennsylvania, and so all of our local stations were out of Corning, Elmira. So, early 90s, Jim Kelly, Thurman Thomas, they were all over the television. So I just started watching them and just stayed a Bills fan ever since.
Is there a particular moment, and I know those names like Thurman Thomas, Andre Reed, Don Beebe, Pete Metzelaars, of course, Jim Kelly, Frank Reich as well. Those names all stick out. But to you, is there a particular Bills moment in the past few years, even good or bad? It could be anything ranging from Frank Reich's comeback to this recent run in the AFC Championship game, even the worst case, the Music City Miracle. But is there a particular moment?
No, that's not a miracle. That's a forward pass.
I know Titans fans will definitely debate that, and I know
that's a forward pass. There is no way anyone will ever be able to tell me that's not a forward pass. I remember watching that game and just knowing that was a forward pass and having your heart ripped out after that. Most recent years, I think Josh Allen's rookie year, watching him leap over to the defender in Minnesota. A couple years before that, I don't remember exact year, the snow game in Buffalo against Indy, where it was like a foot of snow or a foot and a half of snow on the field as they were running up and down the field. I remember the Super Bowl years, obviously coming up on the wrong end, the wide right field goal. Man, so many I remember watching.
Yeah, I can only imagine. There's a wealth of memories to choose from, and it's good to know about that. And one of the things I also ask is, coming into the season, AFC Championship appearance, first one in years. It feels like more than several decades. But what were the expectations going into the season, coming off of that loss in AFC Championship? I know there had to be a bit of a hunger from the fan base about seeing them get back to a place that they were very familiar with in the late 80s, early 90s.
For me, I was thinking they really had a solid shot and still do have a solid shot at going to the Super Bowl. I mean, they brought back pretty much a lot of their core players last year. I mean, they brought back Matt Milano and Deion Dawkins and Darrell Williams on the offensive line and John Feliciano. And then they added Emmanuel Sanders. I thought that they were, and still do think that they have a very good shot at the Super Bowl this year.
I know, again, 13-3, and sometimes you can think when you win 13 games, short of being a 14-15 win team, was there a particular win total that you were looking at for this season?
I thought they'd be right back around that, right back around 13 wins probably. 13-14, I thought, with the 17th game this season. I know, probably a lot of people just start calling me a homer for thinking that they're going to do that, but I knew Kansas City would be a tough game against them, which they ended up handling. Tennessee's, they've played them the last 2 or 3 years, has always been a tough game for them. I knew Tampa Bay would be a tough game. Was not expecting the Jacksonville Jaguars game to go the way that one did. But I think they're playing well. Yes, obviously they've got some issues, but I was thinking they'd probably be around 13-14 wins. Right now they're 8-6. They win out, they're going to be 11-6. So I think that's a little less than what I was expecting, but still a very good season.
Was there a particular moment in the season where you're thinking, okay, this team is going to exceed expectations and could be back in a Super Bowl for the first time since the early 90s?
I think after the Kansas City game, when they just kind of pretty much handled them, I think that game really showed that they had the ability to, for lack of a better word, play with the big boys. Kansas City's kind of been their Achilles heel the last year, beating them twice last year, pretty soundly both times in the regular season and in the playoffs. So I figured when they beat Kansas City this year that was a really good sign towards taking that next step forward.
Was there a game, a particular loss that made you think, what is going on with these guys? Could they miss the playoffs totally? Was it the Jacksonville game? Was it the Patriots game? Was it a loss to the Titans?
No, the loss to the Titans really didn't put dampers on it for me because that was such a close fought game. I mean, they were right there at the end. Josh Allen slipped at the end, they were on the 2-yard line at the end going in and a 4th down and he slipped. I mean, that happens. No real game really made me think that they weren't going to make the playoffs, to be honest. The Jacksonville game actually made me pause and go, whoa, there's definitely some things here that they need to work on. But I think also the Indy game showed that there was also some deficits and things that they were going to need to work on too. The way that the running back just kind of rolled right through them in Indy. That one was more of a weather game, I think. Kind of not really made me question if they were going to be able to still make the playoffs. I still feel that they should, and I still think that they'll have a chance to win the division when they beat the Patriots this weekend. But I always thought that they'd still be in the playoffs.
Looking at the field of the AFC playoffs, who's a team that you feel that the Bills match up the best with in the AFC when it comes to the postseason?
Oh, man. I think they match up with everybody's. I think with the speed that they've got on their defense and Josh Allen and the wide receivers and Dawson Knox that they've got, the receiving core, I think they can pretty much match up with anybody. I don't think there's one team that is a more favorable matchup than anything. I just think that if they come out and play their game and they're executing like they know they can, I think they play with everybody. Even Indy, I'd like to see a rematch of that game. I think they play better against them.
Is there a team that scares you in the AFC? I mean, the team that everybody else in the AFC fears, you guys handed them a 18-point loss. Who is it? Is it Kansas City? Is it New England? Is it somebody like Miami who's starting to make a charge?
Nah, Miami's not even going to make the playoffs, I don't think. I think they're too little too late in the season and don't trust Tua at the end of a season. Look at the end of last season. He had to just win in Buffalo, and they got absolutely demolished with him as quarterback. I don't even think Miami's going to make the playoffs. The team that really, I think, matches up the hardest, I think, is going to be Indy. They proved it last year in the playoffs. They were a tough out, came right down to the wire. Last play of the game, almost had another Hail Mary against us like Arizona did last year, but Buffalo pulled that out. And then this year with the running back, Taylor, guy's a beast, man. I mean, you got to stop him, and there's not been too many teams that's been able to stop him yet. So I think toughest matchup, I think right now looking at the AFC is, I think Indy would give us the biggest trouble.
Another thing we normally do in between our prediction is ask another question off the top of our head. But to you, what do you think has been the Achilles heel of the Bills this season?
Offensive line. It's just been very inconsistent, whether it be because of injuries or COVID related. They doesn't seem that they've had the same 5 offensive linemen for most games. They're always shuffling, or someone's out, or someone's hurt. I think the offensive line has been the biggest inconsistent part of the game for Buffalo this year.
With the receiving core that the Bills have, talk about Diggs, Beasley, adding Emmanuel Sanders, where would you rank their receiver core compared to some of the other teams in the NFL?
I think it's top 5. I think it ranks right up there with the ones from I was listening to some of the locals here in Baltimore area today, and Cincinnati's got 3 top good receivers. Obviously, Kansas City with Hill and Kelsey, and obviously Tampa Bay's got top wide receivers with Goodwin and Mike Evans. So, I mean, I think they're right there in the top 5 with any team in the league.
As we start going towards the Super Bowl prediction, who do you have coming out of the AFC? Who do you have coming out of the NFC? Who wins the Super Bowl? And what is the final score?
Oh, wow. You're really going. I think Buffalo still has a very good shot at coming out of the AFC, and obviously I'm just going to stick with them. NFC, personally, I like to see Green Bay come out of it. I think that would just be an awesome Super Bowl with Green Bay and Buffalo. Basically the old veteran and Aaron Rodgers versus the young gun and Josh Allen, and just seeing them just light it up. I think it'd be a very good matchup. Obviously, I can still see Arizona coming out of the out of the NFC, even though they took a huge loss to Detroit last week. But I think I'd probably go with Buffalo and Green Bay. I think Green Bay is going to end up with that top seed and going to Lambeau and winning in the playoffs. And the cold of January is going to be hard for any team to do. As far as the Super Bowl prediction, oh man, I really hadn't thought about it too much, but I'll take Buffalo. I mean, yeah, I'm a homer, but yeah, I mean, I'd love to see Buffalo win that first Super Bowl. And as far as the score, I don't think it'd be a low-scoring game. I'd probably go 35-31 Buffalo would probably be my prediction.
How far would a Super Bowl win by the Bills go with exercising all the past demons?
Oh, I think it'd be huge. I mean, the only thing I could probably compare it to would probably be like when I hate to use this analogy, but when the Boston Red Sox finally won that World Series. And then they brought, I think it was the next year after they did it, they brought back Bill Buckner that let the ball go through his legs on opening day to throw out the first pitch. I think it'd be pretty close to that.
Would we see Scott Norwood come out of obscurity again?
I don't know if he's really in obscurity, because if you ever watched the Four Falls of Buffalo that the ESPN did a few years ago, the 30 for 30, he still was very beloved in Buffalo after that. Yeah, he missed one. They didn't ostracize him. He still kicked for them, I think, at least one more year after that into the next year. I don't think he's as hated in Buffalo as Bill Buckner was in Boston for that.
I was always curious about that. It's weird that the Scott Norwood stuff, I always think they sort of make him out like he's Ray Finkel or something with Ace Ventura.
Yeah, I don't think he was. If you ever watched the 30 for 30, even when after that Super Bowl, when he missed that field goal, and then I think they still had a parade in Buffalo for him when they came home, the fans are still cheering his name. They were chanting for him. If you go back and watch that 30 for 30, it's very well done. And I don't think he was ostracized as much as people thought he would be in Buffalo. It's a very unique fan base.
Definitely. As we start to wrap things up, do you have any shout outs you want to give to anyone, anything you want to promote, and what are ways people can reach out to you on social media to talk Bills football?
Oh, man. Not really. This is the first time I've ever done anything like this. So I don't really – mostly I just post memes and make fun of people on Facebook. So, I mean, it's just Scott Martino at Facebook. Anybody wants a shout out, go right ahead. Yeah, I don't really do a whole lot of stuff like this. So